But another artist we're always thrilled to have new works from is Nancy Teague, as Amy tries to gently move the tripod over. And wow, what a change from Lisa. Oil to acrylic, landscape to abstract. Take it away, Nancy.
Okay, well, hello to all the Facebook people out there, whoever you are, and this is quite the new experience to be talking to an audience that I can't see. So, anyway, I do want to thank Alan and Strecker Nelson West Gallery. They've just done an incredible job of curating this work. I love, even for my own work, their groupings and color combinations. They did an awesome job. So I want to give a big thanks there. In terms of my doing abstracts, I've had an interesting journey in that I used to do realism, very representational. I like to do close-ups of basically discarded objects like an old radio flyer wagon or a geranium in an old clay potted vessel on a windowsill, so lots of natural light affecting that object and by that light transforming it. But there was always this incredible desire inside as the years went by to be freer in my work. And I happened to think of a dream just the other day. I was talking to my husband about it, so this was probably 15, 20 years ago. And in the dream, I see a painting on a wall that I had done. It was vertical, and it was basically of kidney-shaped objects all over the painting, different colors, and it's like, and I knew I had done that, but it's like, why would I paint kidney beans? That makes no sense to me. And then the next thing in the dream, I'm on the floor and I'm like in a fetal position and I'm spinning on the floor. It's like, to this day, I'm not quite sure what that was all about. But now I look back on that, and it's like knowing that, particularly in the Old Testament, they use the word kidney as being the innermost part of our being, the deep part. And so it was like the Lord was taking me to this place. Little did I know, way back then, 15, 20 years ago, that I am going to do something in the deep part of you that's going to set you free inside so you can express it outside. So that's what happened. And in 2013, April of 2013, stuff was going on in me that I had never encountered before in my relationship with God. And it was like, I have to shift. It's like a pendulum. I'm on this side, and I'm going to go over here. But I have no idea how to do that. But I can't tell you the incredible fun and the joy that I experienced. I still have one of my first paintings. I remember going to bed that night, laying in bed thinking, it was just a small painting. I look at it now, it's like, oh, it wasn't too much to that one. But I go to bed that night and I'm going, nobody should have this much fun. It's like, what is that? So here I am, 2020, and most of this work is fairly current. Obviously, I've gotten even more free in my strokes. For those of you that might kind of wonder, well, what do you paint with? I use kitchen spatulas, of all things. I don't like palette knives. They're too noisy on the canvas. So for some reason, I found the ideal spatulas for me and cake spreaders to do larger areas. So, for example, talking about color, I know I asked Lisa about her greens. I love phthalo blue. Now, that is a strong color, but there's something about that that has a depth to it. And this particular one right here has got the phthalo blue, and when you scrape it away, you reveal, like, it almost becomes transparent. And yet you can get really deep with it. Usually on my paintings, I start with a mixture of a dark color. I call it my black. And I use phthalo blue, I use naphtha red, I use cadmium red medium. I get this mix going. And so you'll notice, like even up in here, I've got that dark thing going, and for me personally, it's a beginning of there's a scripture that says deep unto deep. And so it takes me to this deep place, and then I begin to move out from that while it's still wet, and I will add other colors that even that color that I added changes because of the dark. So that's, I don't know, just to give you a little feel on how do I even get going on a painting, because I have no idea what it's going to look like. So I'll usually have a sense of my palette, and then, but it's like this dark area gets me going in terms of composition or movement, what other colors to add. I go with a lot of freedom and spontaneity. I mean, it's almost like a dance. If you would watch me paint, I'm like, and I'm having a great time. So it's almost like I've moved from this place of knowing exactly what I'm going to do to this place of, I have no idea what's going to happen. And a lot of times I surprise myself. I'll look at a painting and go, look at that thing right. How did I do that? And that's part of what makes it fun. This one in particular is, I actually reworked this painting, and I decided, you know what, that composition is really bad. This is not good here. That's not good there. And so I just started to work over it. And sometimes what you can do with acrylic painting, which is what I use, you can take rubbing alcohol, and if you wet an area with acrylic paint on it, or even if your brushes get dry with acrylic paint in them, you can soak them in rubbing alcohol, and that acrylic paint will come right out. So I will do that on some areas of a canvas. I'll just pour some rubbing alcohol on it, lay it on a table, let it set for a couple minutes, and then I can remove some of the acrylic paint and go back in it with something else. This one has a lot of mark making on it. I'll use Liquitex marking pens to add some movement and freeform lines. I'm left-handed, and so I'm just going away with that. And you can see some of that on this painting. I don't know if you can get close up with that, but anyway, that's good enough. So I don't know if people, they're this one's very playful to me, and there's a lot of movement, and the name of this painting is called Surprising Opportunities. And I think that's part of life, just experiencing things like we had no idea that was going to happen, and it opens up a whole new realm in our life, on our journey here. So I don't know if there's any questions out there, but...
You haven't got any questions.
No questions, okay.
No questions, so I have a question.
Okay, Alan.
Because when I first met you, Nancy, you were putting this red ground
Yes, I was.
on your canvases. Are you still doing that?
Yeah. You know, I've moved from that. Oh, okay. I better repeat the question. Sorry.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah. So, Alan asked me, when I initially did my abstracts, I would paint a red ground on the canvas. So it had this red background. There's some little ones over here that do have that red background. And so you would see that on the edges of the canvas, or when I would cut into the paint, it would expose that red, which adds some intrigue to it. And at some point, I think I heard it from another artist, how she would put a white, titanium white ground on her canvas, and it would make the colors pop more. So I decided I'm going to try that. So I take titanium white, I add a airbrush, I think it's Liquitex, Golden also makes it. It's a product that thins down the acrylic paint, because you don't want to just thin down acrylic paint with water, because it loosens all the little chemicals or the little molecules that are in the paint, and it comes off too easy. It weakens it. So anyway, I put this thin ground of white on the canvas now, and then I do notice that the colors seem to pop with that white ground. So I have changed from the red to the white.
And the Liquitex markings are fairly new.
They are within this last year or so, and a lot of times. So I'll have this white canvas. It's blank. And I'll take these markers, and I'll just start having fun. And I'll just make... And sometimes I almost fill up the canvas with these lines, and then I'll spray some of the markers while it's wet and wipe it off so it totally changes it. A lot of times they disappear after I've worked on a painting, but there's just something about opening myself up to be free, to remember, hey, you know, just play. It's almost like getting back to our childhood. Instead of feeling so tight, it's like you really can have fun at this and be playful. Yeah.